Hi, welcome to the Cigar Ambassadors channel. I'm your host, Louis Starr, and this is my co-host, Bob Bylsma, and we want to thank you for tuning in. Today, we are going to talk about the most interesting conversation we've just had, and that is about cigar aging. Should I, could I, would I, and what does it really do for the cigar? I think that and some more we can probably share with you, something that'll be of interest to you, because what do? We share and explore the cigar culture and talk about its allure. And one of the things that's been in a lot of conversations that we've had over the years is about cigar aging.
And I think it's a hot topic. A lot of people really promote cigar aging and are proud of their older cigars. And I'm kind of on the fence. I think we've both had experiences where it improved the flavor,
Yeah.
and or at least the flavor changed.
Changed, yeah.
And that change can either be for the better or for the worse, depending on what your palate is. I think the thing initially to remember about it is that cigar has probably already, particularly if it's a non-Cuban cigar, has already gone under aging.
Right.
In 2 years, 5 years, some of that tobacco is extremely old.
Yes.
That's used in cigars. That cigar has been blended to be smoked today.
Right.
And so it's not like a Napa Valley cab that is intended to be drunk, I don't know, 5 to 10 years from now, right?
Right.
There's a different approach to that. And
Right.
so I think you start from the standpoint that that cigar wants to be smoked now.
Yeah.
For me, I've done some experimentation that you have been part of my experiment in.
Yeah, thank you.
One of our favorite sticks that we've referred to before is the Boulevard Bellicoso Fino,
Yes.
which is a Cuban.
Yes.
And we like that generally right out of the box.
Yeah.
Well, I've had some now aging for 3 years, as well as some Partagas Serie D number 4.
Okay.
And we'll talk about if you're choosing to age, how to approach that in a minute. But you'll recall an experience we had in Las Vegas where I pulled, after I think it was 18 months, I
Yeah.
pulled a couple of those out, and we may have talked about this on another episode already.
That's okay. It bears being repeated.
Which there's a funny story. So we light these up after 18 months,
Yeah.
and I'm smoking it, and we're through about maybe a quarter inch, half inch at best.
Yeah.
And I say, Louis, I feel like I'm plowing grass and dirt. And
Yeah.
your response to that was?
Well, Bob, I couldn't wait for you to say something because I was sitting there feeling like I was mowing on grass, and being that it's one of our favorites, I really didn't want to say. I didn't know how to say it. Say, Bob, what's with this cigar, man? It's like,
This is horrible.
this is bad. It's like, okay, but we worked through that first inch, and then it just settled down.
It settled down, and as I've smoked those after that,
Yeah.
I haven't had that experience again. And I think that's one of the things you've got to be careful about is assuming I'm going to age it this long. I think the question is, why would you want to age it in the first place? Given the fact it's made to be smoked today, why do you want to age it?
And that's a good question. I think a lot of it is just based on what folks have been reading or have been told about aging. And there are various ways to do that. You can get an aging humidor and put aside your cigars and let them age out that way. Or, as some people do, probably because they don't have the conveniences of being able to have a separate humidor for that, is they put them in a place within their particular humidor to just let them sit for some years. When you do that, folks, you really got to pay attention to your cigars. One, you got to make sure they're getting the proper humidification, and you got to turn it. You can't always just let the cigar sit in there to age out and think that that's the proper method for aging the cigar. You can be cautious about what type of cigars you age, because some, as we've experienced, may not age out very well. They may start out with a nice, strong flavor profile, and then that weakens or just becomes very less than what it was able or rolled to have you enjoy straight out the box.
And
there's a
when you're saying that, you're talking. We've discussed this about some pretty high end cigars.
Yeah.
That we have
Yeah.
not liked the way that they've aged.
Yeah, and just a caveat, we're not going to say the name because we're not going to disparage anyone's brand. However, our personal experience has been with that brand and a couple of others is if you sit on it too long, you're going to lose the quality in that cigar as it was intended for you to smoke right out the box. So be careful about what you're aging and how you're aging it. I have some cigars that I've aged involuntarily because I put them in my humidor and actually forgot that they were in there. And then I find them later, and by later I mean 3, 4, some cigars I've had 11 years, and I said, oh wow, I forgot I even had this. And then I light it and oh my God, it's phenomenal. It's really kept its humidification. It smoked probably better than when I first got it, but there's been a couple that didn't smoke as well. I gotta be honest with you, there were some that I just smoked it because I lit it and realizing that I probably sat on it way too long.
What you liked about it before was no longer present.
It was no longer present. It just dissipated, and I was disappointed because I actually sat on it longer than I should have. You got to realize what Bob just mentioned earlier is that the tobacco has already gone through its aging process before it's rolled. So do you really need to let it age more, and what do you think you're going to get from that by letting it age beyond what it was intended from the manufacturer?
And in some cases, they're actually aged after they're rolled as well.
Right.
What are some circumstances under which you would age a cigar?
Well, the ones that I've purposely aged are some that would be more exclusive, if you will. They were limited production, and I know that I want to hold on to this and have that experience over a period of time. I know that I can't get that cigar again because it was limited. And once it's gone, it's gone. So I have some now that are 2014, 2012, 2010 that I had in my humidor, and I hope to be able to just light one and not go back to the box like a kid in a candy store and smoke them all. Because when they're that good, you're more inclined to just kind of keep smoking and keep going to them, and that's going to either make you very excited that you had the opportunity or make you very depressed because now you know you can't get it again. I like to spread that out a little bit more and just enjoy it over the years, have a special occasion to light that cigar. But there's certain cigars, yes, that I particularly want to age because they're limited in production, may never see them again, and I've learned that that cigar is not going to diminish in its quality. It's only going to be enhanced a little bit more, a little bit differently than when I first got it.
My theory's a little different.
Okay.
There are the two Cuban brands that we talked about.
Right.
That I'm aging more as an experiment than anything else, and I'll mention in a minute what I'm doing with those. But oftentimes, to me, aging is a product of, you know, I found myself buying this box, and for some reason, I don't really care for it now. It's too, the strength is too strong.
Okay.
And generally, aging will soften and blend those flavors better.
Yeah.
In some cases, if you liked it initially, it may blend it to the point of being bland to you.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be careful of that. But I find if there's a cigar that is just a little too strong or there's something just not right about it, you know, 6 months, a year, maybe 2 years in the humidor may change that. Maybe it won't. Maybe I'll never like that.
Right.
But I've definitely had the other extreme where I had cigars that found their way to the bottom of a humidor and never resurfaced. And then when they did, I think of, oh, I'm so glad I found these. And
Yeah.
they're nothing. They were disappointing because those flavors had blended to the point that they were too weak.
Okay. And see, and I'm a little different in regards to, we have different palates, obviously. I like a full body cigar. So if it gets stronger over the years, I'm okay with that because that's what I'm looking for. So, and depending on what day of the week it is, I might want something a little milder, just the same, that's been aged out where it's married, the flavors have married nicely, and I can sit and enjoy all the nuances of that cigar. But that's the caveat for anyone that's watching is, what do you hope to get out of aging that cigar? Do you want it to mellow out where it can be smokable for you and enjoyable? Or do you look for it to develop more strength and a fuller body so that you can get what you're looking for that fits your palate?
And I don't generally find that they get stronger. They usually, those flavors may merge,
Right.
or they may soften.
Oh, I got a cigar for you then.
Okay.
That will knock
I'll
your
look-
socks off.
I'm looking forward to it, Louis. But if you're aging cigars, how do you go about doing that? You'll read that you should do it in a humidor that is cedar lined,
Right.
humidity controlled,
Right.
that they will not age nearly as quickly or as well as they will if you throw them in plastic, such as we've talked about before.
Right.
So if you're going to age them, put them in a cedar lined humidor.
Yeah.
How do you know when they're done? How do you know when you've gotten that to the medium rare as opposed to the well done?
Well, like anything, and any good cook would tell you, you got to pay attention to what you're putting in and your unit. So periodically, you need to check your inventory. We already know that. You need to check it. You need to turn your inventory. Some of the aging process, you might see some results of plume developing on the cigar as well. But doesn't mean that the cigar has gone bad. That means the cigar has gotten a little sweeter. But again, ensuring that your humidification levels are at the right temperature, that your ambient temperature is set where you're regulating that as well, and you may have to move your inventory around within the humidor just to make sure that all the cigars, top and bottom and the middle, are getting exposed, because if only one layer is getting most of that humidification, your bottom layer is going to be suffering. I've experienced that, maybe you haven't, but just a quick tip, there's no harm in turning your inventory so that everything gets properly exposed to the humidification in your humidor. And when is it ready? When you're ready to smoke it.
I guess
That's for me.
my view's a little different.
Okay.
How I approach it. I think one thing you've got to be careful of is, particularly if you've removed the wrappers from those cigars, that you don't want them in contact with something else. So
Well-
you want all of those sticks together,
Right.
and that if they're in contact with a different cigar, you want cellophane on those other cigars, because you don't. That generally is not what you're looking to merge.
Cross-pollination, you don't
Yeah.
want that.
Some people like doing that to explore.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them.
Right.
The other thing that I do, that I've done with the Boulevars and the Partagas, is I will pull one of those. I took a box of each, 3 or 4 years ago, I can't remember, and I'm aging them both in the same humidor.
Okay.
I will rotate them top to bottom,
Right.
and side to side and all of that, about every 3 months.
Right.
But I smoke one of each of them every 6 months.
Okay.
And it's primarily to see how are those flavors changing, because right now I'm sort of in the exploration mode.
Okay.
Is this something I'm going to want to do in the future with these cigars?
Well, you bring up an interesting thought for me. When you're aging a cigar, does it depend on the region for that tobacco as well as the type of cigar? Because you mentioned two Cuban cigars, but then you have those that are from other regions. Do you do them the same, or would you do them the same? And keeping them combined, because then if you put a Cuban cigar in for aging along with a Nicaraguan or a Dominican, will that have any impact on the cigar aging process and the effects of that cigar?
I don't think so. I don't think,
Okay.
as long as they're not in contact with each other.
Right.
I don't think he will have that particular issue.
Mhm.
I am not a fan of aging non-Cubans, because I just don't see the benefit in them. Like I said, unless there's something I'm not liking about that cigar,
Okay.
and I'm hoping that those flavors will change in a way that's more to my palate.
Okay. Okay. And I just wanted to ask that question in case anyone that's looking right now, viewing what we're talking about, would have that question. So I'm asking it for you. There's a difference in how you age, what you age, when you age, and essentially when that cigar is ready to be smoked. You don't want to spend tons of money on a particular box or several boxes of cigars and then have the unthinkable happen where that cigar is now so mellow you can't enjoy it. It's not what you thought it would be if you had smoked that cigar right after you purchased it. Then there's the other thing too, and it's happened to me. I've had a cigar, Cuban blend, that it was pure Cuban, but I enjoyed it so much, I smoked all of them.
Nothing wrong with that.
I couldn't stop myself from going to it. Every day I was going and getting another one. I was just watching that inventory diminish, and I said, you know what? I can't sit on this and let it age out because I'm enjoying it way too much. Thankfully, it was not a cigar that I was not going to be able to get again. But if it were something that was more limited in production, I probably wouldn't have done that.
Well, and that would get us to the discussion of unicorn cigars.
Yeah.
You know, one of the ones that I'm scared to age, and I don't want to, but again, it's hard to find, the Andalusian Bull.
Oh.
You and I both love that cigar.
Yes.
And I want to have it last over time, but I don't want those flavors to change.
Yeah.
And that's really the tension between those two things. So
Yeah.
I'm saving it, not aging it, but I've got to recognize that it's going to age in the process. So right now, the way that I've approached that is I have it in the humidor, in the cabinet humidor, with the lid closed, and I'm just hoping that it all works out.
Well, I think I see a solution to this problem, Bob. That is, if you happen to get a cigar such as the unicorn that we call it, and you want to age it, get two.
See, and that's kind of not far from my approach, which is I will smoke a box when I can get a box.
There you go.
But that to me is a different thing than aging. What we're really talking about is, am I going to intentionally try to age these cigars, and why would I want to?
Yeah, and you know, it's an experiment for the most part to see what the end result will be for you as you're aging it and going through the proper aging process. And if you don't check it to see how well it's going, you might be surprised at the end. But there's no harm in taking a cigar out that box that you've had for 4 or more years and just smoke one and see where it's at right then. And if it's right where you think it needs to be, it's probably not going to get much better than that. So then it may be time to take it out of the aging process and put it in your regular rotation. But still, caveat to you, don't try to smoke one every day, because then when it's gone, it's gone. But at least you know now this cigar is right where I need it to be, right where I want it to be, that I can enjoy it, and it's aged well. But if you want to continue aging it, take it from me, folks. Do what you feel comfortable doing. However, beware that cigar might start to diminish in its strength and its flavor profiles and get too soft for you, and you might be disappointed. I'm not saying you will be, I'm saying you might be. And that's just something to look forward to if you should encounter it.
Yeah, I guess in closing I would say, generally speaking, I'm not a fan of aging just for the sake of aging.
No.
I think you need to be intentional about why you're doing it.
Right.
Because I'm not impressed that your cigar is 10 years old.
No.
That doesn't do a lot for me. I want a cigar that's enjoyable now.
Yeah.
And beyond that, it's an experimentation to see whether or not I can enhance that flavor to the liking of my wheelhouse, or not. And when I'm done, I'm going to know what the optimum time to smoke those particular types of cigars is.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I'm just not a fan of aging. I think as we started out, that cigar is blended to smoke now. The tobacco's been aged. In many cases, the cigar rolled has been aged.
Right.
And it's ready to go.
It's ready to go. And so there you have it. And don't let that be, you know, the only box of cigars or handful of cigars you may have in your humidor and you're trying to age them. You're going to hurt because you're going to want to get to that cigar. So have a selection of cigars in your humidor where that one aging won't be an issue for you, that you'll be trying to get to and then smoke. Both of us have more cigars than we want to count and tell you about right now. But we have enough where we can put some aside, set them aside, so let them age, and then still go to some daily smokes and enjoy those. Well, folks, we want to thank you for tuning in to our channel. Again, we're the Cigar Ambassadors, and our mission, our goal each and every day is to share and explore the cigar culture and its allure. We have fun doing this. We're going to continue having fun doing this. And we want to thank you for tuning into our channel, and we look for you to drop a line and reach out to us. Tell us what you want us to talk about, but be rest assured we got a lot more coming for you in our upcoming episodes, and we're going to have some fun with this as we've been having. And again, my name is Louis Starr, and my co-host is Bob Bylsma, and we thank you and smoke well.